Hello GameMakers, this is GameMaker Rob, and in today's episode we add gold to the game. Finally, we update the shop so you can buy and sell items, you can recruit units and it'll cost you money, and it adds a little bit more of a tactical layer to the game, because actually buying units, will take away your gold and you only have so much gold. We also update the user interface for the shop to make it a bit more coherent and easy on the eye. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is go to OBJ main and the create event, and in the first region, character, enums and grids, that thing there. We just want to add a new stat to eStats. There we go, F8. So at the bottom, we're adding cost to buy. It's underneath item 2. What this is if we're in a shop, how much is it going to cost the player to buy this unit? That's all it is. That's it for that region. And then in the States region, so we don't have gold in the game at the moment. There's no gold for the player, so we've added it to our values to track enumerator. We're going to be saving this from game to game, so when the player stops playing, these values are going to be saved. So this is a good place to put the player gold. So that's in there, and then also underneath where we are setting the story state for the DS values, we want to give the player 100 gold, and that should be it for the create event of OBJ main. And now, because we have added a new enumerator to eStats, we want to also update our CSV so we don't get any problems. So if you're not sure how to go access the CSVs because it's changed in 2.3, go to the top right. There's 3 bars. It says menu. Click on it and then click on included files, and then you'll get this here. You can't open them from here. You have to click on open in Explorer, and here you go. You can open them from here. You can also edit. You can also go to like Documents, GameMaker Studio 2, into your project, data files, and edit them here, and they'll be updated automatically. So that's changed as well. You don't have to edit them from inside GameMaker anymore. Anyway, so open up your classes and characters CSV, and make sure you've got a new column at the end after item 2. And I've called it cost to buy, and this is just the value to buy. So for a fighter it's going to be 40, to buy an archer is 30, etc, etc. The 4 characters, Butts, Brian, Sarah and Davos, I've just set their values at some random figure. You shouldn't ever see this in the game, and that's it for this CSV. Okay, so now we go to the shop object, OBJ shop, and the create event. This is where most of the code is going to be in this object. Hopefully this is big enough for people to see. So we have a new variable called price sell modifier. What this is for when the player sells items back, he's not going to get as much as he paid for them. So for example, if he paid 100 gold for a sword and the price sell modifier is 0.5, he'll only get half of that back, so 50. So the way this is going to work is the value gets times by this value, and that gives the result. That's how the price sell modifier is going to work. It's also good to let the player know what he's doing in case for some reason he forgets or makes a mistake with the button presses. This array is just going to help us display text at the top of the screen. So at the start it'll show shop, and then when he clicks on buy, he'll see this. When he's selling items, he'll see this. When he's buying items, he'll see this. And last of all, when he's recruiting units, he'll see this. So that's what it's for. If we go into the step event now of OBJ Shop, let's minimize this. So it's just this middle region, choose an option that's being updated. And this line here has been moved from line 48. We need to initialize item so that we can get the price of the item before we check for the price of it. So these three lines are new. This line, like I said, well, it's been moved from here, so we know what item it is that the player wants to buy. The price is going to get the cost of the item from our item CSV. This line is just checking to see if the player's gold is more than, or should be greater than equal to, sorry, is greater than or equal to the price. As long as it is, then let the player buy it. So we're adding the item and we are removing the gold from the player here. This line's also new. Then in this state here, so if the state is shopstates.unit, then this line here again, we're getting the price of the unit, so how much is it to buy. If the player's gold is greater than or equal to the price, then he can buy it. This was moved to here for the same reason that the other line was moved, just so we can declare it before we try to read it. And then remove the gold from the player after buying the unit. I'm just going to go back out. So we've covered this stuff so far. And then if the state is shopstates.sell, again, we just want to add money back to the player. So we're going to be adding these three lines, although this one isn't strictly necessary. So right underneath where we are checking to see if the player has an item to sell, we're going to get the price of the item, which is, first of all, we want to turn this entry from global items, so the cost of the item is going to be a string, so we want to turn it into a real, and then we're going to times that number by the price cell modifier. So if this was 50, it'll become 25, but just to make sure we're not getting some kind of decimal places, you then want to floor that result. So that's what all this stuff is about. We can make it a bit more readable by splitting this into 2 or 3 lines, but I figured if I just explain it, it wouldn't be too bad. This will just show us the cost of the item that we're getting back, the actual money we're getting back, and then we're going to add that to the player's gold value, and that should be it for the step events of OBJ Shop. Last of all, like I said, we're going to be making the GUI a bit better. We're also going to display how much gold the player has, how much things cost, how much money he's going to get back from selling something. So for that, we need to go into the draw GUI event. Let's minimize this stuff. Okay, so let me just increase the size. Should be okay, I think. Okay, so we have a new variable called margin. I'm going to use this quite a few times. This is just to make things appear at about the same place on the screen. For example, rather than having the options at the very top left, they are now 20 pixels from the left and 20 pixels down from the top. That's where they start, that kind of thing. So let's open display state. This is a brand new region. We're going to draw from the center, so this is going to be displayed in the top center of the screen. Draw it in white. We're going to use our conversation font. I think that's the biggest one we have. And then in the middle of the GUI, horizontally and 20 pixels from the top, we're going to use our new array to draw whatever part of the shop the player is in. And that's all we need to do for that. Then in the display options region, let's just zoom out for a minute. So all we've done is updated this line here to take advantage of our new margin variable. So inside this for loop, let me zoom in. Just this line here should be different, the rest should be the same. Again, all it's for is to make our options not just appear at the very left of the screen or top left. That's all it's for. Okay, then in the items region, we have two regions for items. We have one for selling, one for buying. It didn't really make much sense to have two regions now, because it's really the same code or very similar code. We would just be doing a lot of copy pasting. So just to avoid that, let's just comment out the whole region, and we're going to do this state with the cell state. Before we do that, let's go into the units region. So instead of having start y equals unit height, we're going to have start y equals unit height times 1.5. This is where we're displaying the units. We want them to appear further down. It just looks a bit better overall. And then this region here, show cost of unit. I think the whole region is new. I don't know why I put updated. I think the whole region is new. We're getting the cost of the unit from our new enumerator that we put. We want to draw it in the top left in a white color, and then draw the value there. So this is going to display the cost of the unit. So now the penultimate bit we're going to do is we've changed this line. It used to be just sell, but now it's sell and items. And like it says here, we're using this region to draw items whether they are being sold or bought. So these two lines have been updated. I think we just added margin to them. In this for loop here, this line here, we're going to check the size of list. The list is going to be different depending on what state it is. If the state is sell, then the list is going to be list of inventory. If the state is items, then it's going to be the player's list of items. So regardless of what state we're in, this line is going to be the same because it's going to be a different list. And then item is going to be the entry in list as opposed to list of inventory. So this line's changed as well. Quantity, I've also changed this. Basically, we don't want to show quantity if it's a shop, but we do for the player. So if we are in the sell state, then the player is selling. So then we're going to say quantity is going to be X plus the quantity. So we're including the X inside this and making quantity a string. as opposed to drawing it afterwards. As you can see here, we're just drawing quantity there. Otherwise, if we are not in the cell state, then quantity is just going to be blank, and we're still going to draw it in this line, but there's not going to be anything there. So after these two lines, the next change is here, like I said, and then the only other change in this region is the draw buy sell price, this here. So this whole region is new. Let me just zoom in. There we go. So set the coordinates to be drawn from the top right, set the color to white, and set it to FNT editor, which is a size of 12. I think it's one of the smallest fonts we have. Get the cost of the item. If the player is selling, then we want to modify that cost by the price sell modifier, which is what this is going to do, and then floor it just to make sure we don't have any decimal places. Set the draw X and draw Y, and then draw the text of the cost. So this is going to be drawn over the items, regardless of whether the player is buying or selling. He'll see the cost of the item. And then this last region, display player gold, we're going to show it in the bottom left. We're going to show it quite large. The player could have a lot of money. We don't want to show like a really huge number. So what we're going to do is, if the number is over 999, we're going to divide it by 1,000 and add the letter K at the end. We're not actually going to change the value of the amount of gold the player has. We're just going to display it differently. So that's what this GP and display GP is about. So GP is going to hold the actual number of gold that the player has. We're going to make display GP a string of that, just in case it's not already a string. So if the value is greater than 999, then we're just going to copy a couple of values over from the actual value and then stick a K on the end. This will work for moderately high numbers, and then this line here is going to draw our gold using margin to draw it 20 pixels from the left and 20 pixels from the bottom, and stick a G on the end. And that is pretty much it. Okay, so now that we have gold in the game, we're setting ourselves up for saving and loading, because I don't think there's any more parameters we need to add to save and load the game. We're also setting ourselves up to have the player gain rewards from battle, like gold and items. So that's going to be in a future episode. Okay guys, so I will catch you next time. Bye for now.